Good evening, my friends. How's everyone doing tonight? Hope everything's focused and the camera's working. Never can tell. I made a video a little while ago in my car talking about transmutation and, mental alchemy. When I talk about this subject, it's almost like it leads to a cheesiness that I'm going to convey right now, which is the old, you can do it, you are worthy, you're a great person, you can do whatever you want, you can do whatever you set your mind to. When we hear these things from people, they seem like empty promises sometimes. Such as the guy who has a great life, loving wife and kids, a great job, he's making good money, he lives in a good part of town, in a good country, he just happens to have a great life, regardless of how hard he worked for it. Because working hard doesn't necessarily mean that you can attain that same level. There are people who work their asses off in some places and they can never get ahead. Maybe due to their status, due to their culture, their sex, race, whatever it may be. And we want to be able to feed each other positive vibes. And we want to be able to give each other positive affirmations to say, hey, you can do it, and give people a pat on the shoulder. So what I'm doing here is trying to say that I realize that there's an element of society that is the exact opposite. They want to see you suffer. They want to see you do shitty. They don't care about people in general as a whole doing well. What really matters is, and it's not that these people are necessarily opposed to other people doing well. It's not that they really don't want to see you get ahead. It's that when they see other people getting ahead and they're not getting ahead, it bothers them. And there are a lot of people like that. And these are the kind of folks who, maybe when you tell a friend about something great, they find a fault in it. Or somebody who always has a negative viewpoint about certain things. And living with those people or being exposed to those people can bring an individual down to where they start to believe what they're being told. They believe that they're unworthy because it's somebody else's projected ego issues, let's just say. So we could go on, and I could talk about it forever, about how some people suck and try to bring others down. But to focus rather on the side of the people who are trying to boost each other up. Sometimes they're doing more damage than they realize because they're trying to tell a person how good they have it. For example, a person just loses their job, or they just lose a loved one, and another person's just trying to tell them, hey, there are good things going on too. There are positive sides to life. Because here's the thing. Whenever something happens to an individual, any one of us, that's, a life-changing event that's not a good thing, a person can go through a period of depression. Now, this is totally different from clinical depression. This is a period where a person is grieving over their issue, just like grieving for a lost loved one. For example, if somebody's parent just died, you wouldn't give them antidepressants just because they're sad. That's not the same as depression. So trying to sort out why we feel the way we do is difficult. And some people seem to be sad all the time. Now, there are some people who take it to an extreme level by playing the victim. Now, I have a hard time dealing with the victim type, but that's the message I'm trying to convey here, is that it's okay. If you are playing the victim role, you can get out of it. First of all, by not blaming your history, not blaming your parents for where you're at, or what may have happened to you in the past, or your lot in life, because we all have fucked up shit that happens to us. That's just how life is. And some people just deal with it better than others. So some people may complain about the smallest little problems as being so big to them, and whereas others may have huge issues and not even complain about it. And then the person who has these small issues may look at the person who's always positive and think, oh, you must have a great life, not knowing this person's probably could have lost loved ones and be miserable, lost their job, maybe they're missing a leg or an arm or anything, because some people just cope better. So the idea is, how do we all cope better? How do we all get better mechanisms to handle our stress, but more the way we look at each other? So what I wanted to say, look at ourselves and each other, because they're both important. So the message I wanted to convey here was that just by the mere essence of being human and being conscious, just by the fact that you are here, and if you're an individual watching this video, that means that you're coherent enough to understand language. That means that you have at least eyeballs or ears to process the information that you're hearing. And to me, it's like when I'm at my most kind of out of my mind, like when I'm doing a particular psychedelic or whatnot, I actually have more of a, it just gives me a very high respect for sobriety. In other words, I think it's great to know that all my senses work together. Like when a person takes a disassociative, where it kind of takes you out of your mind and you think, wow, it's amazing that all these senses work together in this brain and this consciousness and this body. It all orchestrates it all to where I can sit here and talk to the camera and talk to people. And it's just phenomenal. I mean, it's really amazing. So being grateful that we're even alive and conscious. And if you're suffering a lot of pain, I've been there. I've had sciatica that was so bad I just couldn't even handle it. But I made it through and here I am. Because being alive is such a reward in itself. Just existing. But I'm not ignoring neurochemistry, because the way that our brains process our lives plays a huge role in how we deal with our situations. I mean, if you are low, you know, either your body can't produce enough of its own serotonin, or maybe you have issues with dopamine production, whatever it might be. Rather, we don't even understand quite how all the neurotransmitters that in our brains work, you know, in conjunction with one another. But we do know that people have issues with brain chemistry, which means that no matter how positive you think and no matter how many great things happen, you just may be drab about it. And, you know, it may not do anything for you. And that's, whereas another person can find a, you know, amazing world in just a flower. And I want to be one of the people that can see the world in a flower. And that's what I've worked towards. So it's a matter of, even if we are a little bit negative, we don't want to get caught in that rut of being that way. And before I made this video, I was thinking about inhibitions and how people have a hard time talking with one another. And even I have an issue with, you know, social conversations until I get to know somebody. Even if it's somebody I know well and they stop by, it takes me a while to kind of get in the groove of talking to them. And I thought about alcohol briefly. I thought, you know, alcohol is considered the socially acceptable drug, whereas so many others aren't. And alcohol is so damaging, it could be so harmful, so addictive, and destroy lives. But what I realized was the positive aspect is the lowering of inhibitions. In other words, a side effect of removing the judgment, or our judgment, you know, not having good judgment, that alcohol happens. Oh, I can drive, no problem. Along with that also comes an opening up to other people. And this is why there are bars. People go out and they socialize, they have a drink, and they're able to talk to people better and be more open and honest. And that's a huge, crucial aspect. And this is completely repeated in what's happening in, or what has been going on for decades now in the rave scene, taking MDMA. You know, people took psychedelics for a long time, and it seemed to enhance, you know, their ability to connect with one another. And then MDMA comes along, which doesn't give you all the crazy visuals. It allows you to function and still talk, and it's basically the same as alcohol in that way. And that's why people gravitate towards these, because we are social animals. We do want to get to know one another. And some people are just negative all the time. You know, they'll scoff at even these things I'm saying right here. They would scoff at, you know, oh, bullshit, people suck, the world sucks, the world's just corrupt, and, you know, everyone's out to make a buck and nobody cares about anybody. Just close the door on those people. Walk away from them. And if you have a good friend who thinks that way, who's negative about everything, you know, maybe give them some words of wisdom, plant the seeds of hope. But if a person's continuously like that, they're only going to bring others down with them. And, you know, it's just not worth it. There's enough negativity in the world to where we shouldn't have to be exposed to it in our lives. And, I mean, by choice, such as marrying someone who's negative all the time. I mean, that would just... Maybe you're a child who has a parent who's negative all the time. Like maybe your parents raised you where they told you not to, you know, that maybe they said you could be anything. Or maybe they said that, oh, you'll never amount to anything. There are parents who tell their kids things like that, you know, that say small little things that really hurt. And you can say little tiny things to a kid that may not seem like much to you that stick with them for life. And it goes both ways, you know, kids to parents, parents to kids, friends to friends, husbands to wives. And I would say the crucial aspect of this is marriages and really tight relationships where you're with someone all the time, to make sure that you are boosting each other up. You know, it's really hard to give and to receive compliments for some people. And for me, it's both. It's not because I don't want to, it's because maybe I feel cheesy giving a compliment to someone, or maybe I don't feel like I deserve the compliment, or, you know, it's like it's hard for us to like take ourselves as being worthy. It reminds me of a line from a Papadosio song, I want to be worthy, it's unnerving. And it was, from what I get from that, the way that people feel in general, that we all want to feel worthy, we all want to feel like we matter, and we all do matter. But nobody else will make us matter. It doesn't matter how many people tell you you're great, or how many people tell you you're a slime bag. But before I go, I would also like to add this element that if you have a low self-esteem and you feel shitty about yourself, yes, you should change your attitude and become more positive about who you are and embrace it. But if you're feeling negative and like a shitty person because you are a shitty person, in other words, if you're feeling guilt from being a thief or a liar or a cheat, then you deserve the feelings that you have. And it's important to distinguish between the two. You know, if you're feeling guilty just for being human, or, you know, for maybe having a yearning for a particular addiction, or somebody's telling, you know, you're in love with somebody that doesn't love you, or all these different things that can make you feel bad, they're not worth feeling bad over. You just move on. But if you're doing something that's affecting others or yourself negatively and you're being harmed, then that's not just an emotional, that's a guilt, you know, and that's different. That's dealt with differently, and that's a subjective issue each person has to handle. So, talk to y'all later. Have a wonderful evening, and hope you all have a fantastic day or night or week.